All praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Kwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to the elect of the nation of Israel. This lesson is going to be about how these red pillars will believe every single conspiracy theory, every single global system. They'll bring people in to talk about financial topics, right? And they'll accept that there's a financial system that's been designed to keep people in a certain way. They'll accept that there's certain laws when it comes to marriage and how there's certain things when it comes to women's rights that are rigged to go a certain way, right? But when it comes to the topic of so-called black people, right, they don't want to believe that there's anything taking place to stop them from doing anything, right? And that's because they don't, as much as they claim that they have the truth, there's a certain thing that they've heard but rejected, and it's the truth of the Bible, man, right? And that's why when I was watching this debate or conversation between Tariq Nasheed, Myron Gaines from the Fresh and Fit podcast, Sneeko, and a few other little random people that, like, some people wouldn't know who they are. I kind of think I know who some of them were, but I'm not too sure, right? And and Tommy Sotomayor as well, and when certain talking points got brought up, right, they didn't ask any questions to go deeper into that. For example, when Tommy Sotomayor brought up that there's certain people out there that they say that they're black Jews and that they can go into the Bible and show why they say that the people that call themselves the chosen, the people that call themselves the Jews that live in the land of Israel, that they can show in the Bible that they've had their heritage stolen from those people. And he brought up that one of the things that people believe in this world is what that Dave did. He stole their whole heritage from them. And nobody on that whole podcast, despite them continually trying to tell Tariq Nasheed to talk about Jew supremacy and all of that, none of them wanted to ask Tommy Sotomayor any more in-depth questions about that great point that he just made concerning the people that they are saying are the only ones that are oppressing people, and that so-called white people are not oppressing people, right? John chapter 8 and verse 32, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. A Hebrew Israelite can cut up all of the could have cut up all of that whole conversation, because one of the talking points that they was making in that debate, right, was this, right, which we brothers, man, if you live in the UK, you've came across this before, right? Because previously, like maybe 5+ years ago, the people were saying something different to what they're saying now. But now, I've personally started to notice a new way in which these people, these so-called white people, try and disassociate themselves from all of the oppression that's ever happened towards us, right? And this is what they're saying now. So when somebody brings up the things that so-called white people are doing as a whole, they'll say, no, it's not us doing it. It's the Jews doing it. They run the world, blah, 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 blah. They'll say that, right? But what they don't understand about Hebrew Israelites is that we don't believe that those people even are the Jews. We believe that we are. So what an intelligent person would say, if we say that to them, is, well, okay, if they're not the Jews, who are they then? To which then we'll point out they are Edomites, just like all the other people that call themselves white, except they are the people that call themselves Jews. We believe that they are a different tribe within that nation, and they are in fact the head tribe of that nation. And now people that believe in the Bible might say, oh, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Listen, man, when you go into the Bible, Amalek is seen separately from Edomites several times in the scriptures. And here's one place where I can show that. Psalm chapter 83 and verse 2, for lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up their head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. The tabernacles of Edom. Now Edom's a whole nation, right? And the Ishmaelites, and Moab, and the Hagarenes, and Gabal, and Ammon, and Amalek. Now who's Amalek? Amalek was a tribe of the Edomites. Now, let me show that. But in that scripture, it shows Amalek separate. Now, if I was to say in terms of biblical speak that Amalek are not Edomites, I'd be lying, right? The same way how when so-called white people and so-called Jews say we're not the same, no, you're lying. You're a damn liar. You are the same, right? And before I get this scripture, in fact, no, I'm gonna get the scripture. I'm gonna get the scripture, right? This is Genesis chapter 36 and verse 16. Duke Korah, Duke Gatam, Duke Amalek. These are the dukes that came of Eliphaz in the land of Edom. These were the sons of Adah. So Amalek was an Edomite. When you see Amalek in the scriptures, that is a tribe of Esau. But yet Amalek gets mentioned separately from Edom several times in the scriptures because there's certain things that that tribe has did personally to the Israelites, man, because they're the head tribe of Esau, right? They're actually, when you go into the scriptures, man, and when you go into the book of Esther, right, you see that Haman was called an Agagite, and that they were calling themselves Macedonians, right? But who also was called a Macedonian, right? Further going into the point of how the Amalek are the chosen, well, not the chosen. Amalek are the head tribe of Esau, right? First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 1, and it happened after that Alexander, the son of Philip, which this is talking about Alexander the Greek, right? Or the so-called great, as people want to call him, the Macedonian, right? So the Amalekites were the Edomites that Yahweh used, right? And made the head of all of Edom at this particular time. He used them to be the people that was going to take down the Persian Empire. So they are the head. They, by this particular thing taking place of Alexander taking down the known world at that time, right? That allowed the whole nation of Edom to float. And when you read the book of Maccabees, right, it goes into and it calls certain people Greeks. It says they're Greeks and all of that, right? When it's talking and referring to the Edomites. But in certain other places in the Bible, in this story, it says Edom. But Edom and all of these Antiochus Epiphanes, they're all the same nation, right? But they were calling themselves different names, but that don't mean that they were different people. Just like how the Jews, the Israelites, right? They were calling themselves Jew, and some were calling, and they were calling other people that didn't follow the laws anymore. They were calling them Greek. Now, did that mean that they weren't the same people? No, it didn't, right? And let's use a more modern term, right? My so-called history or ancestry, according to what this world will try and tell me and would want to accept that it is Jamaican, Caribbean, whatever the hell that's supposed to mean, right? But I've never took one of my toes, my big toe down to my pinky toe, has never touched the land of Jamaica in my life. So if I went over to Jamaica, they're going to look at me like I'm some sellout, like I ain't Jamaican. They're going to call me English. They're going to try and say, why, you know? They're going to be trying to come with all of that. They're going to be trying to come with all that bullshit. They're going to be trying to make it like, because they've got a thick Jamaican accent, that they're more Jamaican than me according to this world standard, right? But that wouldn't make it true. The same way how, just because now there's some so-called white people calling themselves Jews, right? And they've been able to make the world believe that, that don't mean it's true. They're not, because they're not even Jews. That's what we believe. Now, before people were saying, oh, it's not white people, it's the Jews, what were they saying? Hebrew Israelite brothers know this, right? And so-called black people know this too. We know what they were saying before. And in case you didn't know, I'm going to tell you what they used to say. Before, people used to blame everything on the so-called Jews, right? They used to say this. Or I'm going to give a few examples. They used to say things like, oh, not all white people are doing this, right? And then here was their main one. It's not us. It's the elites. Now, I'm going to break it down for people that might not have heard this before, man. Among so-called white people, the people that are the elites are calling themselves Jews. So the people that are calling themselves Jews are the elites of so-called white people. Now, just like how back in the past, when people used to say, "Oh, it's not us, it's the elites," right? And then weird come to the conclusion, hang on, but I've never met no elites, but I've still experienced all this racism, but I've never met no elites. I ain't spent time around no elites. Well, the same thing when you people try and say, "Oh, it's not us, it's the Jews," because we ain't met too many Jew people that are calling themselves Jews. We ain't met too many of them and had conversation with them. I don't think I've ever had a conversation with one in my life. Yet I've experienced the things that I've experienced, man, from you devils. So you can't try and this is what Esau loves to do. They love to try and pass the blame when shit gets too hot for them, right? And they like to try and when it comes to these red pillars, man, they'll believe all kind of conspiracy theories. And then when it comes to so-called black people, they'll be like, well, just deal with it, right? But then these same people have podcasts telling men not to get married because the laws when it comes to marriage, right? The laws when it comes to marriage are skewed against your favor. So they'll believe that. They'll believe that there's a conspiracy to steal men's money in marriage and ruin them through marriage. They'll believe that, right? Right? And then they might say, okay, men, don't get married. Don't get married, men. Okay, well, that's when Esau changes the laws. So then now, if you ain't married to a woman, it don't matter how long you've been living with her. Does she get her mail sent to the house? Okay, she can get you for spousal support. And then I'm not sure exactly what the parameters are, but there's another thing called there's spousal support, and there's another one, man, but I forget the name. But they've got all these different ways that women can be given money by men that they're not with. If a man puts his name on a birth certificate, right, he can get taken for child support. And these red pillar guys, they'll believe that. They'll be like, yeah, that's true. That can happen, guys. And they'll give them warning and all of this, and they'll try and say things. But what they don't get is that when you're in a system like that, the parameters can be continually changed. And if the goal is to take men's money because men desire to sleep with women, then no matter what, they'll continually change laws. And they'll be the thing is, these guys will accept that. They'll accept that could be true. But when it comes to so-called black people, they want to try and make it like, oh, I don't understand why black people just ain't got anything and why they're just, because we're able to come up. Listen, man, you people that complain about so-called black people, right? You people that complain about so-called black people not making it in America in particular, because that's the main country you like to say, you're not that group. So you ain't been through the things that they've been through. And on that, when I was watching that debate, man, it was getting annoying because you had Sneaker on there talking about the Jews are the chosen, right? But then saying to Tariq Nasheed when he was saying things, you think you're so special, you think it's all about black people, and he's just called another group of people that he's not even a part of the chosen, based on something that he doesn't even understand himself, because he can't prove why they're the chosen. He can't prove that they are who they say they are. Because that guy's only recently became a Muslim and doesn't even know the ins and outs of that, and only became a Muslim really because Andrew Tate became one. That's the only real reason why that guy became one. Like, these guys are lost. And then what they don't understand is that Andrew Tate is actually one of our people, because his dad is a so-called black man, so he's more closely towards our people than theirs. And that's a guy that he worships. But then at the same time wants to try and talk shit about so-called black people, and that's what I mean. This world's lost, man. They hate our guts, but then at the same time, they don't want to let us be apart from them, because they know that if we was to not be around them, then we're gonna grow into something. They know that we'd eventually figure, or they'd be scared that we'd eventually figure out that we're the Israelites. So despite all their talk of, oh, black people need to build up and blah blah blah, listen, man, you don't want us to build up. You don't really want us. You say that you do. All you people say that you want us to build up, but you don't really. Ezekiel chapter 35 verse 11. Therefore, as I live, saith the Lord Yahweh, I will even do according to thine anger and according to thine envy, which thou hast used out of thy hatred against them. So despite all the shit that these people want to talk about us, they're envious. I don't care what they say openly. When they go home, they're envious, man. They're envious. And that's why all these people, even the people that would talk so much shit about so-called black people and say all black people wear their pants sagging, they're all selling crack and all of that. That'll be the main one at a Kanye West concert, knowing all the lyrics. Those would have been the main ones that will know LeBron James' stats for the season. And they'll know his training regime. They'll know what years he got injured. They'll know all the stats, man. They'll be the main ones at concerts screaming. They'll be the main ones. It's not even really so-called black people that all these concerts of these black musicians, man. It's you Edomites that are there. Screaming out all the lyrics, man. It ain't really us there. And there's so many things, man, that I find despicable when it comes to these Redpillers, man, because they claim that they're about being enlightened, and they'll bring on people that will tell them about financial systems, and then they'll be like, oh man, so the financial system's changing, dudes. Like you need to change it, and they'll accept that. But then when it comes to so-called black people and any conspiracy that might be about them, that their nationality was stolen from them, they'll be like, how in 2024 is there any how can you be stopped from doing this or stopped from doing that? Well, how in 2024 are men being stopped from being able to look after their kids? I mean, and be able to have access to their children. How is in 2024 men are being, you know what I mean? All the talking points that you've got a problem with. And the thing is about this one particular guy in particular, man, this Myron guy, right? He has, even though he ain't one of us, man, he ain't no Israelite, I don't believe, right? But he got asked by Tariq Nasheed a simple question: is there a global system of white supremacy? Yes or no? Right? And he didn't give an answer. And we know what the scriptures say: let your yea be yea and your nay be nay, for anything else is of the devil, man. So he knew that he was on a tight spot there and didn't want to answer. But then they'll claim red pill and all of this, and they'll claim, 304s are emotional, they don't want to say this, they don't want to say that. But he was acting like a 304 a little bit, man. Because he got put in a situation where he had to could answer questions, and he was getting asked, why is your homeland destroyed? And he was like, I'm only talking about America. But you can't only talk about America. Or if you're trying to talk about just one country, right, but somebody else is talking about the whole world, right, then you've got to talk back to them based on what they're talking about, and otherwise the conversation ain't going to work. And then as well, America would be a part of your conversation. But these guys ain't real, man. They're not real. These guys don't really want to get to the nitty-gritty of what's going on, man. And that's why when they hear about any conspiracy theory related to so-called black people, despite how many other conspiracy theories they believe, they don't want to get down to that. They'll be happy now to say, the Jews made music that's destroying the black community. But we don't believe that they're the Jews, though. We believe that they're just another class of Edomite or so-called white people. That's what we believe, because we believe we're the chosen. And then you people don't want to ask us why we believe that. You just say, no, you're not. But you're supposed to be red pill. So you should be asking questions. You shouldn't just be dismissing it. Because even among the people that call themselves Jews, they're bringing people over from China saying that they're Jews. They're bringing people over from Ethiopia saying that they're Jews. They're bringing people over from everywhere apart from where they should be bringing people over from. And saying and allowing them to say that they're Jews. Like, you people are lost, man. Psalm chapter 2 and verse 2. The king, in fact, verse 1. Why did the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against Yahweh and against his anointed, saying, let us break their band asunder and cast away their cords from us. And that's what these people really want to do. They don't want us to be connected to our heritage, man. This world is so dumb, right, that they'll accept that there's a group of people that have got a biblical nationality, but then if we start saying that we're a biblical nation, the same biblical nationality, right? Now, over all of a sudden, this world's going to say, no, you're not. But they never said that to the other people. They never made the other people have to prove why they are. They just said, oh, they live in that land, so they are. But what about when they didn't live in that land? Because didn't they get over there in like 1919 through to 1948? Wasn't that the time frames that stuff started taking place? So what about when they weren't living over there? And the Canaanites were living in that land before the Israelites were. So were they Israelites? Were the Canaanites Israelites? For all you people that think you're so smart over there, if the land that you live in decides who you are, well, when the Canaanites was living in the land of Israel, or the land of Canaan, as it was called at the time, were they Israelites? When the Israelites was in captivity in Egypt for 400 years, and there was no Israelite born anywhere apart from Egypt, were those people Israelites, or were they Egyptians? And some of you dummies are so lost that you'd actually be questioning that. You'd be like, oh, that's a good question, actually. I never really thought about that. They were obviously Israelites. Because your nationality is not decided based on where you're born. And that's why when you people are so quick to dismiss that we're Israelites, you're stupid. Because you like to say, oh, you didn't go through the Atlantic slave trade, so why are you complaining about it? Okay, we weren't born in Africa, so why are you calling us African? I weren't born in Africa. You know what I mean? I weren't born there. But you people will be quick to say we're African heritage and all of this. But we don't believe that. We believe that we're Israelite heritage. And we've got reasons why we believe that. So what's supposed to happen is we make our claim for what we believe. And if anyone else wants to try and make their claim for what they believe, make it. But you best be using every single Bible verse, right? You should be able to show how you're cursed. And it wouldn't be self-inflicted. For example, when you go to Isaiah 3, it speaks about how the Israelite women's hair was going to be taken away. Everyone knows that so-called black women, for the most part, can't grow hair, do not like their hair, and therefore wear weave. Isaiah chapter 3 and verse 16, moreover, Yahweh saith, because the daughters of Zion are haughty, and what with stretched forth necks and wanton eyes, walking and mincing as they go, and making a tinkling with their feet. Therefore Yahweh will smite with a scab the crown of the head of the daughters of Zion, and Yahweh will discover their secret parts. Verse 24, and it shall come to pass that instead of sweet smell there shall be stink, and instead of a girdle of rent, and instead of well set hair boldness, which that's the point, right? The so-called Jew woman puts a wig on her head and tries to make out like this has happened to her. The so-called black woman puts a wig on her head because this has happened to her. She puts weave in her hair because this has happened to her, not to make it seem like this has happened to her, because it has happened. And everybody knows that so-called black women, for the most part, can't grow their hair. But nobody wants to make this link because they're not real. They claim red pill, but they're only red pill when it comes to talking about hoes. Oh, you men need to know how to hold frame when you're talking to these 304s, dude. Oh, you need to know, you need to get your money up. You need to 6 figures. You need to have dealt with 50 women. They've got all these talking points when it comes to all of this, right? But then when it comes to deeper things, they don't really know what the fuck they're talking about. They don't really know. And they'll accept that there's systems when it comes to all these things. Oh, there's a petrodollar, right? But the same way how there's a petrodollar that's been designed to try and force people to use the dollar to buy fuel worldwide, this no matter what country you're from. That's the same way how you should be able to understand that there's been a system that goes after so-called black people. And some will end up making it through. But that only further helps pretend like the system don't exist. Because how can you say a system exists that's oppressing you? And then I can show you these maybe 2,000-3,000 millionaires. Look, there's not a system. What are you talking about? This guy's a millionaire. He was a good singer, so he's a millionaire now. And this guy's a millionaire. He was a good actor. He played a boxer in a role, and I've gave him $1 million. So what system are you talking about? What are you talking about? There's not a system. Look at how many millionaires there are. Look at these 5,000 millionaires that I'm going to show you. Which really, that's me bringing it up. Look at these 500 celebrities that I'm going to show you to say that they ain't, you know what I mean? Look at these celebrities that are playing sports that I'm going to show you that you ain't oppressed. What are you talking about? You ain't oppressed. But then if you really look at these sports, you'll see loads of so-called black men running up the field, running down the field, sweating, getting ACL tears, getting subdural hematomas, getting punched, their lights punched out, right? Frank Martin recently got his head knocked off, right? But no so-called white person had to get punched in the mouth and uppercutted in the jaw and then hit with a left cross in order to make some money. They just sat in the crowd and organized the fight and made more money than the fighters. You know what I mean? Because they have had a system set up for centuries. But people won't want to accept that. But then this fresh and fit cat, man, he literally saw that the system exists, and he'll say, "Oh no, that's Jews." But we don't believe that though. The same people that you're calling Jews, if they didn't tell you that there was a Jew, you'd just think it's a so-called white person. If they didn't tell you, that's what I mean. These people are lost, man. They're all over the place. They don't know because they don't believe the certain truths of the Bible. They're confused about a lot of things, but they'll claim that they're red pill and they're enlightened, and they don't. We don't just talk about hoes. We talk about finances. We talk about this. Okay, you talk about all of that stuff, but when it comes to any conspiracy theory related to the so-called black people, you don't want to hear that. Your ears switch off because you don't want to accept that because you've been able to make a lot of money because of the state that they're in. Because you can just bring some hoes that are so-called black women on there, make them act a fool, kick them out your house, and you've made money. But if the so-called black woman wasn't a hoe and wasn't acting up like that, a lot of your main streams that made you money would have never existed because they wouldn't have even acted like that. A lot of some of the talking points that you would have had wouldn't have been there. If so-called black people wasn't dysfunctional, you wouldn't have had that stuff to say. So who would you have talked about? That's what I mean with these guys. They're not real, man. They claim that red pill talk, but there's certain things that they ain't really prepared to go into. They ain't really prepared to start looking at the whole picture, and that's why they only want to try and talk about things related to America. But I don't know if you dummies know, America is only one place. The world's a lot bigger than that country, and you should know it if you wasn't born there. There's things that are going on in other places in the world other than America. You know what I mean? But these guys don't want to go into that, man. But anyway, man, so lucky if this came off as a rant, man. But these red pill guys are not really prepared to talk about the whole picture, man. They claim that they're enlightened, but they're not as enlightened as they think they are. Shalom to the elected nation of Israel. Shalom.